On the build show today, we're going to be touring this incredible 5,000 square foot house being built here in Canada that's going to use basically a hairdryer to keep it warm. It's built so efficiently. Today's build show brought to you by Sega, Innotech Windows, and Quad Lock. Let's get going. Hey guys, we're outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, and I want to introduce you to the builder and the homeowner right here, Mike Cairns with Innotech Windows and Doors. Now Mike, this is your personal family's house, right?
It is.
And this is not a small house. We're like 5,000 square feet, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
All right, now the title of the video that I put on this was that you could heat and cool this house basically with a hairdryer. Let's talk about that before we get into it. Tell me about what's going on with that.
Well, what we're building here is a passive home. So the whole concept is we've put a big thick sweater on the outside, so even though we've got some pretty awful winters here,
yep.
We don't require much energy to heat it or keep it cool in the summertime.
And how much energy are we talking for a house like this?
We're talking like 1,600 watts.
Wow, so maybe like 15 to 20,000 BTUs of heat for this giant house, and that's it because it's built so well. And there's two things that we're talking about here, right? We're talking about lots of thick insulation, which you can see here from already. But what's the other big part, or the other big component on that?
The big component is the high quality windows and doors.
Yeah, and air tightness in general on a house like this.
Air tightness, lack of thermal bridges, continuity of
yep.
the thermal envelope. So
yep.
there's lots of details that go into it. But once they come together, it looks really good.
For sure. Now, Mike, we took a tour earlier of your factory, and I got to say, I was really impressed. Y'all make some incredible products. Now, one thing that not everyone might be familiar with is the frame material you guys are using, which is UPVC. Very different than a standard vinyl window that most people think of. Can you give us kind of a brief explanation of what UPVC is?
The basic difference is the U stands for unplasticized. So it doesn't have all those chemicals and fillers and things that typically go into what you think of as plastic windows
yep.
or PVC. So it's not like that, the Chinese toys that are gonna, poison your kids and stuff like that. It's a product that is recyclable, that's manufactured in a clean, environmentally friendly manner, a totally closed system. And it's a strong product, so we can build out of it, expect multi-decades of use, and at the end of life, we can recycle it and turn it back into brand new windows and doors.
Yeah, in fact, I was talking to the founder, owner of the company earlier. He was telling me that when you recycle that UPVC, you could actually recycle it up to 8 times, and it even gets stronger over time in terms of recycling because there's less contaminants in it over time. So that's pretty incredible. I didn't realize you could do that. And the other thing I thought was really cool was the testing that y'all did in your facility. Let's cut to the factory real quick and show you how they test their windows. All right, guys, so they just ran a test for me behind me. This is an expensive test rig, like $1 million+ on a test rig. And what they're actually doing is pulling windows off the line, somewhere between 5 and 10% of the windows that they're making here, they're testing. And the cool thing about this test rig compared to most of the ones I've seen is this is a non-destructive rig. So see all the clamps? These look like woodworkers clamps all the way around the window. They're taking the window right off the line, they're pressurizing it with the clamps, and then they're testing it, and then they can unclamp it and send it back out to a job. So they're actually testing units that are going into the field. But check out the numbers on this unit in particular. This is a 0.25 U factor, so basically an R4 window. And then we've got a solar heat gain coefficient of 0.19. That's for this operable. And then they've moved the sticker, but this sticker is for the fixed side, 0.25 and 0.22. This would be a great window for a Texan. Great numbers. And then, of course, as we've seen today, they make this in triple glaze as well. But one thing I wanted to point out is typically mulled windows, I try and stay away from them because I find that when windows are mulled together, that's a weak point, and that can be an area where water can migrate in. But check this out, look at this top rail. The top rail on the frame is continuous, and then this center rail where they're not mulled together, but it's basically one big unit, is continuous. And they had this thing cranked up a minute ago, and they're talking about 6 gallons per square foot per hour at 15 PSI, which is equivalent to 77 miles an hour, no leaks. Very, very impressive. These are high performance windows. And I kind of squeezed out of them a little bit of price too. a unit like this where we've got like maybe a 4x6 fixed, and then we've got this tilt turn operable right here, which is maybe, I don't know, 30 inches by 4 feet, something like that. I'm talking about maybe $1,200-ish. Not bad at all for those numbers. And then if you want to add triple glaze to that and get down to a U factor of like 0.16, we're talking about a 20% upcharge. Not bad at all. Now this is standard white. Remember, this is UPVC. You're going to pay a little bit more if you want a color on there. Again, that's like a 15-20% upcharge. But for those kind of numbers, this is an incredible value for a really high performance product. All right, Mike, you got to tell us how this house is built. It looks like a big foam box. Let's walk up and take a look, shall we?
Okay.
So we're seeing strapping on the outside of foam. First of all, what is that strapping? That's not like a standard 1x4 I've ever seen before.
It isn't. It's actually the crates that we bring our materials from Germany in. So we pull them apart and make use of them wherever possible. Sometimes they're garden boxes, sometimes it's soffits, and in this case it's the strapping.
That is crates from his German suppliers. How cool is that? It's basically kind of like a pallet material, right?
Yeah.
And what's the species of that wood?
So that's a larch.
Okay. And it looks thicker than a 3/4 inch. What is that?
It's a true 1x6, so it's 1 inch thick.
Yeah, so it's a 5/4, as we would say in America. That's awesome. And then talk to me about the foam that I'm seeing there. Is this an ICF house? Is this a wood framed house? How much foam do you have here?
There's a lot of foam. It's a combination, so it's an ICF foundation with a standard 2x6 wood framed wall with another 6.67 inches of exterior insulation for R25 on top of the regular value.
Holy cow. And I'm loving how deep set your windows are here with these beautiful metal pans. Now you've got a mock-up for us to take a look at. How about we meet you inside and we'll show you the mock-up. All right, guys, check out these awesome mock-ups that Mike did to kind of explain to people how his systems and how his passive house was built. First off, here's his foundation. Mike, you were telling me that you actually laid this quad lock pretty quickly. Is that right?
Yeah, it was just a couple days.
A couple days, and you and your dad put all these blocks in yourselves?
All the blocks, as well as the rebar and everything.
Man, that's incredible. And these kind of snap together like a Lego block. Is that right?
That's exactly how they work.
Okay. And what did you tell me originally? It took you like 2 days to put all the blocks in and get the rebar ready to go?
Yeah.
That's incredible. What's the crawl space height downstairs? 3-4 feet?
It's 3 feet at the bottom. It's actually a 5-foot foundation wall and then 6 foot at this end.
Gotcha. Hey guys, coming to you from probably the nicest conditioned crawl space I've ever seen. We are in the snowy, cold Vancouver area. And yet this crawl space on an unconditioned house under construction when it's like 30 degrees outside has to be 50 or 60. And Mike, the owner and the builder, has literally like a space heater upstairs just keeping the temperature up. And when this house is completed, we're talking about a heating load for the whole like 5,000 square foot house of like under 2,000 watts. This is crazy. Now, a couple benefits of a conditioned crawl space. Number one, we're in the air-conditioned envelope or conditioned envelope of the house down here. So all our services, our ducting, everything is going to be within the conditioned envelope. And because it's a passive house and because it's so airtight and so well insulated and it requires such little heat, in fact, he's heating and cooling the house, if you can see down there, with one Zender unit that has basically a heat pump attached to it that gives the heat that we need for the entire house. And so those little tubes right there are bringing in fresh, filtered, and heated air to the entire house. Now the foundation of the house is quad lock, and I'll go show you the kind of mock-up on that in a minute. But Mike, the homeowner, and his dad actually did it themselves, and they laid out this entire foundation ready for the concrete guys in 2 days with a quad lock system. 2 guys that were handy but had never done it before. This is impressive. Now we've got room down here in this crawl space to crawl around, to creep around in this case, to do a remodel, to service things, to take care of a plumbing leak in 30 years if we ever had one, or to run a new Cat 27 wire that we need in 2050 down on this end of the house. It's pretty nice. I gotta say, very impressive. So it's tall enough to get all your utilities in, but not big enough to make a true basement out of that someday.
Yeah.
And this 2x here is meant to simulate the top of concrete. Now talk to me about your air tightness details, because you got a bunch of different Sega tapes you're using and some other products to maintain that continuous air barrier, right?
Yeah, so we used poly down in the basement to make it very easy to tie in to the underslab, which was also poly. Ran that up. We used some high quality tapes to ensure that we had a good seal between the two different substances there, because we have poly and Tyvek.
Yeah.
We do have an exterior barrier that ties down in. There's basically a tarp around the footing.
Okay.
So that carries it up. The exterior waterproofing.
And that tarp around your footing, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's for capillary breaking, right? Not for air tightness. Because you want to make sure that soil water is not sucking up into this concrete, right?
It serves both purposes at the same time.
Okay, all right, good deal. I'm sorry, keep going.
Yeah. And then that layer brings up, and we have some more high quality tapes that bring us in to continue that air barrier detail on the exterior. So it's really about, we've got two different layers just to make sure that we're covered no matter what.
Makes sense. Now on the quad lock, this is your standard block from those guys, but then you decided to add some additional insulation on the outside, right?
I did. So there's an extra R12 on here. I could have just ordered it. I didn't find out till afterwards. I could have just ordered it as 6 inches instead of 3 inch and 3 inch.
Ah, gotcha. But my understanding is when you started building and designing this, you weren't thinking it was going to be a passive house at that point. Is that right?
That's right.
And what made you make the decision, hey, I should go ahead and add some more foam and really thicken this house up and tighten it down?
It was just that I had learned enough about passive house to realize I would be kicking myself for the rest of my life if I didn't build to that standard.
Yeah, I love it. And this is not a house that you're going to resell in 3 years, right? You're going to be here a while.
Well, if somebody comes in with a big giant offer, maybe we'll see.
I love it. All right, so then let's continue back with this air tightness detail. So this Rissan tape from Sega is taping to your Tyvek, and then you're tying that to your sill sealer, which is tied with some adhesives to this front piece of Tyvek. And then talk to me about what's happening with your WRB into the face over here.
Yeah, so we've got the My Vest coming down the face of the building. And then at the very bottom, we've got it taped off to the Tyvek. We also ran the Fentrin tape down at the bottom to connect it to this wee glove that's on top of the foam. So that gives us a seal for the air and also a shedding surface down out to the face.
Gotcha. And you're probably not going to get a lot of water here based on what I saw on the outside, because you've got big overhangs pretty much on the whole house. But what I thought was really cool, and I should have pointed this out earlier, is all of your overhangs are built on top of your foam. Is that right?
That's right. To make it as few thermal bridges as possible, we didn't want to have great big lag bolts going in. We didn't want to have that wood pressed up tight against the sheathing here. We wanted to make sure the foam was continuous. So we just attached everything and screwed it to that nice thick 1 inch material we've got on there.
So good, man. All right, now walk me through this. This is some seriously thick foam on the outside of your house, Mike. What do we got going on here?
So this is 6 5/8 inch thick. It's just basically regular EPS foam. This is also from the guys at Quad Lock.
Okay, so you bought all the exterior foam from Quad Lock, huh?
Yep. And it's pretty convenient to put on, to be honest, because it actually just stacks up like Lego blocks. It's heavy enough, so you just
stack it right up.
Stack it up, and then throw your rain screen on.
Yeah, and I saw you've got 1 or 2 screws maybe holding it on until you put the rain screen on.
One screw per block is all it needs.
And what size were those blocks?
They're 4x8 sheets, and they only weigh like 14, 15 pounds each.
Oh, that's not bad at all. All right, now this detail's cool. Talk us through what's going on here with this angle on the foam.
Yeah, well, we had actually decided on the sill detail first, so we copied the angle of the sill in the foam. We just cut it with an angle on the circular saw and hand sawed it to finish it off. Any rough tooth hand saw works great.
Gotcha.
Way better than like hot knives that you just fill your lungs and the atmosphere up with horrific chemicals.
Yeah.
So the window is taped.
So this is the window flange right here being taped with some Fentrum tape from Sega.
So the window is already sealed off to the building, the WRB. Everything's airtight, everything's watertight. So now we're just making sure that the window ties into that watertight layer. And we've taped down onto a piece of blueskin that I put on top of the foam. So that just easily sheds all the water out to the face of the rain screen. So anything that happens to weep out of the system, the window is designed to channel water through it.
Gotcha. So if something were to get past the seal right here, basically, or this one, there's a weep that's down here that would let that water out.
Exactly.
Yep.
So then that water can easily escape. It's set up. This foam is on top to add some insulation value to the frame. That decreases the internal temperature, so that's fantastic for comfort and condensation. And the sill just sort of plunks on top.
I like that, man. Is it somebody locally made these sills for you?
Yeah, this is just bent up by my friend's dad, so he does a great job. It's nice heavy gauge steel.
That's what it looked like, 24 gauge maybe steel right here that's pre-painted and ready to go.
Yeah, and once we put that on, throw some trim work on top, put an apron underneath. None of the stuff's going to go anywhere, and we never have to maintain it.
I love it. And then what's your final siding that's going on the front of the building?
It's actually going to be a metal cladding, so it's going to butt up against the wood trim. So everything's pre-finished, and it even comes in pre-cut lengths. We order it to the exact size we want and just pop it in.
Hey Mike, before we close it out, let me show these guys a couple of the cool products that I saw at your showroom. Let's cut over to the showroom. Okay, y'all, we're at the Innotech Factory, and they've got a showroom here. Let me show you a couple cool things they've got here, including a mock-up I really like. All right, so Innotech, these guys have some cool products, and several products, come on through with me here, that I would consider kind of not standard for the North American market, and some even that I didn't even see in Germany. So check this out. This is a double French style door, but one of their hallmarks is extreme engineering and really tight window and door products that are going to perform really well. And one of the reasons why they do that is because they've got multiple seals on the door. So for instance, on this door, you've got 2 sets of weather stripping when that door closes against. And then there's a third weather stripping actually on the door frame itself. Also notice the hinges are on the inside, so they're not restricting these at all. But check out how many locks we've got. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 locks plus the 3 hinges. So when that door closes and locks, it's locking in really tight. All right, the next thing I want to show you is this. Now they do a lot of tilt and turns in Europe, and I really like these. So this looks like a standard casement. Again, it's got tons of locking mechanisms all the way around and that same weather stripping design. But check this out, you can vent it from the top, which I like, because now you've got your hot air, which is going to go out, your fresh air, which is going to come in. But this one's totally unique. I didn't see any of these in Europe. This looks like a great design for North America, and it looks to me like only Innotech has it. A screen on the tilt turn. Because that window's tilting in, there's nowhere to put that screen, but in this case, they've designed a screen that's on the outside of the frame, so you're not going to trap any bugs in between your window. And let's walk over and I want to show you the lift and slide mechanism doors as well. Okay, so check this out. Lift and slide. I really like lift and slides. Look how easy it is to just slide that door. Easy gliding. And then when you get it closed, what's happening here is this handle, you've got a nice long handle, it's going to switch to the lock position. And what happens is the door actually sits down onto the frame below. Now, when it sits down onto the frame, you've got this double gasket system, so it's going to be nice and airtight. And that's really one of the hallmarks of Innotech is excellent energy efficiency, frames with really good U factors, but it's really about air tightness as well. And that's why you can get a bunch of Passive House certified windows through these guys as well. And look how easy that hardware operates. Basically one finger. That's really nice. And oh, by the way, you could also, if you wanted to say open it 3 or 4 inches, you could close it And then the door is not going to move, but you can get some fresh air through, but someone couldn't climb through the door on there. That's some nice stuff. Let me show you some cross sections they have over here. We're seeing a lot of this type of construction happening throughout Canada as we've kind of traveled around. And what you're looking at here is standard wood frame construction. This is the outside on this mock-up. And check this out, we've got multiple inches of rock wool. This is probably 8 inches of rock wool on the outside. And a lot of guys are making these sheet metal, this looks like 24 gauge metal pans on the outside, so that when that window is recessed back and is basically set at the framing level, you've got some place for water to come up there and run out and not get this wet. It's a really nice mock-up. I like seeing all that rock wool up there, and then you can see they've got rock wool in the cavity as well. And then this is highlighting the steel that they're using in a lot of their windows. So these are UPVC, and then they've got these red pieces that are painted so you can see it. This is basically steel that's reinforcing those windows so they're nice and strong. They've got both triple glaze and some really high, or in this case I should say low, high efficiency but low U factor double glaze windows as well. And again, they've got a nice pan on this display. Now that's something the builder's going to make. You're not going to get that from Innotech, but I understand they actually have a new jam extension option as well, so that if you had, let's say, 2 or 3 inches of exterior insulation, you could specify your windows with this jam extension, which is an aluminum extension, and now you've got that thicker jam depth all the way around. We need to see more window manufacturers do that. That's going to be a huge game changer for builders who are going to exterior insulation but haven't used it before. Mike, to wrap up the video, I gotta say, Innotech, very innovative product at honestly a very reasonable price point for really, really high performance. Some good stuff we saw today. Anything else that you wanted to interject or that I missed from today's tour?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to mention that coating that we have on the window. So it's we etch that into the glass. Serial number, and so it tells us exactly what project, what job, the size of the window, everything. So if there's an issue down the road, glass needs to be replaced, whatever it is, we can easily reference it and solve the problem nice and quick.
That's good stuff, man. Tell me what your ideal location is for selling Innotech. Are you guys just Pacific Northwest? Do you guys ship to other places as well?
We're primarily in the Pacific Northwest, but we do ship to other areas. And
you guys are pretty much all factory direct, right? So
exactly.
Builders in this area are buying direct from you, direct from Innotech.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Tell us a website for people who want to get out and see your products.
It's innotech-windows.com.
Okay, good deal. Guys, really appreciate you coming out to tour Mike's house with me. Mike, impressive house, dude. And you've got how many generations of your family living in this house coming up here?
3 generations.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well-built house. Hopefully you'll pass this on to your grandkids someday, because this is an incredibly well-built house. Guys, if you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. We've got new content every Tuesday and every Friday on The Build Show, but come back for more from this high-performance road show in Vancouver, British Columbia. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram, otherwise we'll see you next time on The Build Show.